Welcome to Thriving Entrepreneur with your host, Steve Kidd, third-generation minister and 30-year business coach. Listen in as amazing, world-changing authors, speakers, and coaches share their struggles and victories. And hear from best-selling authors' insight into how you too can live your life as a thriving entrepreneur.
This is Steve. Welcome to Thriving Entrepreneur. Thanks for being with me here today. I so appreciate you. I'm so grateful for every moment that we get to be together as all of us are striving to live as thriving entrepreneurs. We really need to celebrate ourselves, celebrate our community, but celebrate who you are inside. To move beyond the things that were to the possibilities of what will be. There are so many elements of that, whether it be publicity or it just simply be you making a post on social media. There is the element of really truly knowing who you are and clearing the road so that you can shine and be the best you that you could possibly be every day while it's called today. How we master ourselves, how we really show up as our best in the world right here and right now today is so much. It's so vitally a part of thriving in our life and business, because without really truly loving ourselves, without really truly mastering ourselves, without really truly clearing away the past of all the things that can be, without those, we can't really celebrate in ourselves, first of all, and then out to the world. I mean, ultimately, publicity is just really about celebrating you out into the world. And so how do you celebrate you to the world? And it starts from mastering yourself, from clearing the past away, from really learning what's good about you and celebrating you inside, in you, in your life, in what you do to really truly thrive and to say, you know what, I'm an awesome, amazing person. I brought this up, it's been a while since I've talked about it, but true humility is having a right perspective of yourself. Truly being humble is to be able to just genuinely, without the need to brag, to say, you know, I'm really good at this thing. And the converse to that is to be able to say, you know, that's not something I'm really good at. When we try to self-inflate ourselves, that's actually a sign of our low self-esteem. When we're bragging is actually a part of low self-esteem. It's trying to artificially boister ourselves up so that we can feel better about ourselves, and it never really works. It's like an emotional drug, and it just doesn't work. But when we learn to really celebrate the you that is you, who we are inside, and really take that to heart and really go, you know what? I do this thing really well. And then not judge ourselves over the things that we don't. We've got to let the past go. We've got to let our faults and our failures be something that slides away so that we can maximize while it's called today. To be the best us right here, right now. And then we can take that and we can share that with the world. We can be public about it. We could even go so far as to bring in a publicist, you know, like celebrities do, to be able to really share with the world just how awesome and amazing you are. Because you are. I need you to know that, understand that, and believe it. You are awesome. And so today we want to, and all of the things that my guests are going to be sharing with you, we want to have our eye on the prize of celebrating you. And if you can learn how to do that, you can live as a thriving entrepreneur. I've got three really great guests here with you, and I want to jump right into the interviews. So, without further ado, let's begin celebrating you with our first guest. Join me in welcoming Beth Nidick. How are you doing today, Beth?
I'm great, Steve. How are you?
I am doing so good, thanks. Tell us a little bit about you and how you show up in the world.
So, I'm a New Jersey-based publicity and business strategist, which means I help entrepreneurs not only earn the media they want, but I help them leverage it they leverage and monetize it throughout the fundamentals of their business. I years ago, I've always been in TV. Years ago, I appeared on the Dr. Oz show. They'd asked me to come in because I was working in the health and wellness space, and I was making some deviled eggs with Dr. Oz. So, I go and I went shopping at Lord and Taylor first with my mom. It was a huge deal. My first like professional in front of the camera, because I've always been behind the camera. I had hired somebody to go over my messaging with me and make sure my website was signed up correctly, it was set up correctly. I, made sure my backup was, because all these people, right, were going to come see my site that day when it aired. And what happened was I had a great show. They invited me to come back again, and I got home and I was answering emails and doing all this other work, and I just didn't check my opt-in. Could you see what's coming? 3 days later, I went in and checked the opt-in to see how many people had signed up because I had been working on all the other pieces of the funnel, and I had hit pause instead of publish. So not only did I not capture any of those emails that came to my website, but I had made a huge mistake on a national experience being in the camera. So I do everything I do today to make sure that nobody else goes through that experience. And I hear it from my clients and from people I interact with all the time, like it happens. So I'm on a mission to make sure no one ever shows up on TV without their opt-in working.
That's very good. I was afraid you were going to say either A, your website crashed, or B, that the merchant processor for the product you were selling shut you down and stopped processing credit cards because you went from 0 to 60 in a second. So,
right.
All right. So when it comes to press or to publicity in general, where should a person kind of start out at if they've never done anything?
Well, first you start with your goals. What are your goals for wanting to earn publicity? Because there's different publicity for different goals. Say you want visibility versus credibility, or you're looking to really sell product, or create more of an independent, passive product service. Whatever you're trying to create for yourself. So it depends on where you want that to be. So if you're looking for visibility and credibility, then it's showing up on television. It's showing up in your local newspaper. It's showing up that way. If you're really looking to sell product, podcasting or collaborating with other speakers and getting in front of other audiences, those are different ways to get visible, to get press. Because people think press, they think TV, radio, and newspaper, but it's so much more than that. It's seminars, it's conferences, it's being in your newsletter for your church or your high school or your college. It's really anywhere somebody who isn't familiar with you can get familiar with you. That's press. So first we start with where your goals are, and then we figure out where your audience is already watching, listening, and reading. Because if they're already watching and listening, leaning somewhere, then your ideal clients will be there also. So that's a shortcut. Because if you're like, I want to be on Good Morning America, great. That's great for credibility. But none of your audience watches that show, then it doesn't help you at all. I always think about this. Like I when I was in health and wellness, I go on Dr. Oz. I wouldn't go on like the Barefoot Contessa because all she does is cook with butter and cream. That wasn't what I was about. I was about healthy eating and healthy cocktails. So making sure that where you want to focus your energy is someplace that you can actually land and can make you money. Because I feel like sometimes we're scared to go to that money conversation. Like if this is a hobby for you, God bless you. If it's not, let's make some freaking money.
Oh, for sure. You said butter and cream like it was a bad thing, though.
So somebody who's lactose intolerant like I am, it's a very bad thing.
Okay. All right. You got me on that one. So publicity is really just about having the public see you.
It is. It's the opportunity you give other people to learn about who you are and what you stand for.
What is the biggest thing that people don't ever do or don't do until they get to you that they really should be doing right from the beginning?
I am always, what's the right word? Amazed at the people that come to me that are making money, that have a real business, but their fundamentals of their business aren't set up. They don't have marketing pillars. They don't have an email list. Like, I can't tell you how many, like, several New York Times best-selling books. This one a client of mine, she's an author. I think she's got 6 best-selling books. I think she's got 100 people on her email list. She never paid attention to it. She speaks all over the world. Like, so it's really those fundamentals, so that when that's in place, you can layer on all that other stuff, which is going to in turn help you be more successful and help you make, earn more clients and earn more cash.
Got to remember to back up that email list too, because when you go from this service to that service and you don't have it, then you start over at 0 again.
Yes, that
None of
always
us have
happens
ever
too.
done
No. It's those rookie mistakes that we all make. So it's why really focusing on those fundamentals. We're so ready to, like, jump into the whole business that if you just take a moment, and it takes extra time, but taking that extra time to make sure that's set up correctly, it makes all the difference in the years it'll take you, or the months it might take you to get to where you want to be.
So does it really make a difference if you're selling coaching services or you're selling some kind of product? Does publicity work better for one or the other?
It doesn't, but people think it does, and I'll tell you why. Because if you're a product owner, like, say this is a food company's pen, okay? So if I'm the food company, let's go with the pen. If I'm a pen company, if I try to go onto media and just talk about pens, I'm not going to get very far, because that's a commercial for my product. But if I'm going to go on television or a podcast and talk about the art of letter writing, or the art of thank you notes, or the art of doodling with your pen, whatever that is, they'll do a story about that, because that can make an impact, that can engage an audience, that can entertain an audience. There's a storyline there. For coaches, I really lean into where your media message is. So everyone has their marketing message. For me, your media message is that underlining idea that you really want to get across to your people. So, like, for instance, my overarching marketing message is, I'm going to take you and your business from undiscovered to unforgettable. It's bold, it gives you action, it tells you kind of what I'm about. But what my media message is, and what I really want people to understand, is that we all create the own opportunities for our own success. So when you hear me talking, and you hear, like, I do keynotes, or I'm talking on TV, I'm talking about how to create opportunities. I'm talking about asking for what you want. I'm talking about knowing what it is to get to where you want to be. I'm talking about all this stuff. I do talk about press also, but I really want that underlining idea for people, to inspire people to look me up and see what I'm about, to understand who I am, so they know they want to work with me. I'm not talking about, I have a group program launching next month. If I'm doing, like, the end of a podcast, or the end of a radio show, and that's part of how they do their business, that's different. But it really can't be a commercial. So we have to take a step back from our marketing message and go back to the why and who, and that's where we can really birth our media message.
Talk to us a little bit about the concept of being evergreen, because you talked about, at the end of a podcast, you say, oh, and I've got this exciting event that's happening next week, and then somebody listens to it a year and a half from now, and they're all disappointed.
No. And that's going back to your fundamentals. So if people hear me on your show, I'm going to direct them to my website. What on my website is going to engage them enough to share that email address and to get into my funnels? Because for me, selling through emails is the way that my business is structured. I'm not a big seller through DMs. I'm big in relationships through DMs. But if somebody's going to hear me, they'll probably go to my social media, right? They'll go to my link in bio on my Instagram, which all leads back to my website. It all leads back to my, mine's called the Media Spotlight Magazine. It all leads into that one funnel, and then everything goes off from there. So really understanding how the audience cycle looks for your business. And that way, that once they're in your funnels, right, you have your evergreen products, and then the funnel always works for you that way. Instead of trying to, like, here's my group program, so I'm doing next month. It's like, that stuff doesn't work. You need to warm them up, and being in that emails and really being consistent about what your emails look like and how you connect with your audience, and you're vulnerable in those emails, and you have a real conversation there. That's what's going to make you successful and give you those products that can always keep, that you always sell. I sell the same products over and over and over again.
A lot of people struggle with that too. I mean, what do we put, especially at the beginning of our website? I mean, because you can do about me pages and, all that kind of stuff, but you got to get their attention right at the beginning. What have you found works best to really get somebody to want to go deeper into your website when you drive them, like, say, from a podcast like this?
It's actually something that happened to me today. I went onto a friend's webinar, and I left soon after. Not a friend, I take that back, a colleague, somebody that I know. I left soon after because she was giving very high level information. I wasn't going to learn anything. So my answer is, teach your people something. Don't give them an opt-in where it's not anything substantial. Like, you're not giving away your framework if you give a tiny piece for free for your audience. So I would say you have to start with actual real information that somebody can learn from, enact, be inspired by, whatever it is that you're doing. Have that piece that can make a difference in their lives right away. That gives you to be seen as an expert, to be seen as somebody who's of value. Because I can't tell you how many times I download something and I'm like, this is nothing. This gives me nothing. This tells me nothing. I can't use this for anything. Like, one more daily planner. Like, stop doing that, people. These are 5 ways to be more visible, and I'm going to give you these 5 ways and these steps, and here's one of them. And here's the second, like, real information that you would want somebody to give you. Like, there's 2 ways to looking at this kind of stuff. It's like, give away everything for free and they'll come anyway, or hold everything hostage. So I'm about giving everything away for free. Like, I can tell you how to get media, but you need my help to actually do it. That's the difference. So I'd love for people to stop being afraid of sharing their genius and sharing that piece of it. Because if I'm going to give you the first impression of me is that opt-in, and if that's something of such value, they're going to keep coming back for more. And that's honestly why my opt-in is so beefy. It's not a one-sheeter. There's actually 10 pages because I wanted to give that much actionable information, and each one of those leads into something else that they need support on, and they'll need more from me. So make sure that leads into something and it's not like a stopgap. And when you give them no information, that's a stopgap.
I laugh because my first opt-in I wrote, by the time I was done with it, it ended up being my first book because it was about 120 pages.
That's awesome.
So for the person who's just starting out, you said that they need to understand their why. Give us a little teaching. Teach us how we can really identify what our plan is, what the purpose for publicity is for us.
I think it's really hard to really sit by yourself and say, what am I about? What is the one thing, right? So I think it's really, you start with conversations. You can analyze or think about what people are asking you the same question over and over and over again. Like, let's figure out what your zone of genius is. What is that one thing that comes easy for you that doesn't come easy for everybody else? And that's the one thing that we can lean into to create those media messages, because that's the unique piece of who you are. And that's the unique piece that people want to hear about. Like, when my kids were little, because I'm allergic to, just a little insider information, I'm like allergic to everything. I'm allergic to dairy, like I'm allergic to all this stuff. So when my kids were little, it wasn't fashionable to make your own baby food, but I was making my own baby food. People started asking me about how to do it, what I was feeding them, what I was making. Guess what? My first health coaching product was a baby food making product. That's what people were asking me. We complicate this so much that it's got to be something big. It's really what's that little thing that everyone asks you about that comes easy to you. And then right now in the press landscape, local news is your best bet, the place to start. I know it's scary. Like, if your high school has a local, like a TV station, like my high school has a TV station, they actually broadcast, like community television on it, and they have shows. Go be on your local TV station as your high school. But if you can create a relationship with your local news station, and you can be the health and wellness lady, the smoothie lady, right? The car guy, the crypto guy, like, figure out what that one thing is, make a relationship with somebody at the station. And this is how you make a relationship with somebody at a news station. You pick up the phone. I know. Pick up the phone. You dial the number and you talk to the 20-something person behind the phone and say, hey, can I speak to your lifestyle producer? Can I speak to your tech producer? Who is that producer? They'll either give you their name, phone number, or they'll give you their name and transfer you to their voicemail. So be ready with what you're going to talk about. But that's how simple it is to start connecting with people in your media. Just pick up the phone and ask for those people, and then have 3 sentences. And I mean 3 sentences because that's as much time as you need to really grasp the information. Hi, my name is Beth Neidig. I'm a cocktail cookbook author. I'd love to come on your air and teach your audience how to make healthy, whole cocktails. That's how I got a lot of my first gigs. Was I just called up and asked. That's it. In what we do in this online space, your messaging, your clarity, consistency, what your funnels, like all these fancy words, or press and publicity, all these fancy words really just make us nervous. Where it's really just simply people talking to people. And there's a camera involved, but making relationships is just about people talking to people. I always say it's like high school on steroids.
Mm.
In a good way.
Makes a lot of sense. So, and you had said earlier that sometimes the hardest piece of it is to try to figure it out for yourself. So for the people that want to work with you, how can they go deeper with you?
Oh, thank you so much for that. So you can actually find me on any social media platform at Beth Neidig, or email me directly, Beth@BethNeidig. My DMs are always open, but I'd love for your audience to go to bethneidig.com. Right there at the top, you can download my Media Spotlight magazine, which, like I said, is 10 pages of great articles and actual worksheets that'll get you to the next level. In there, we're going to write your media bio, and we're going to start your media kit together so that you too can earn the media you've always dreamed of.
And that's BETHNYDICK.com.
Thank you.
Just want to make sure people listening, they know how to be able to spell that. So Beth, give us one last little piece of inspiration before we end here.
What we do, meaning the online space, is really all about personal development. So my little trick to getting through every single day is, before I open my eyes, I tell myself to be brave. That's it. Just be brave. And if you can be brave till 11 a.m. and then get back into bed and crawl under the covers, then just be brave till 11 a.m. You can be brave till 1, 2, as long as you can. But when things come up for you, and to start every day with just be brave, I believe, and in my life and for a lot of my clients, it can really help you just get that much further and succeed that much more in everything you're trying to achieve. So I wish everybody luck. Connect with me, DM me. I'm always available for questions. I love connecting. And Steve, I'm so honored to be a part of your program today. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for being here today, Beth. What are the things about you that you can begin the concept of publicity just simply by telling the world how amazing you are? What is the thing that you do good? What's that thing you can celebrate about you today, so that you can be a thriving entrepreneur here today? Let's jump into our first commercial break, and then we'll be right back here on Thriving Entrepreneur. Don't go away.
If you're an author who's on a mission, stand out with your brand out. Check this out, guys. Yep, everything's marketing, and marketing is everything. Your existing book can become a best-selling book, or even, hey, like mine, a #1 international best-selling book in 5 days. Listen, if your business isn't known by everybody, it's obscurity, and that's death, right? The same thing is true for your book. If you're not happy with the way your book is performing, you got that far and then it just fell off the face of the planet kind of feeling, go to yourbestsellertoday.com. Schedule a talk with Steve. It's risk-free, it's guaranteed, it's proven. We've done it thousands of times. What are you waiting for? Yes, yourbestsellertoday.com. This time next week, you could have a beautiful seal on your book and get the attention that you deserve. Reach the people that you came to serve. Come on now. What are you waiting for? Grab a pen. Here we go. All you got to do is book a call, yourbestsellertoday.com. Go to yourbestsellertoday.com. Book a talk with Steve. It's proven, it's guaranteed, it's gonna happen. All you have to do is say yes to your destiny.
Welcome back to Thriving Entrepreneur.
This is Steve. Welcome back. Thanks for listening to Thriving Entrepreneur. Today, we're talking about celebrating you. So now in this next segment, we want to jump into it. We want to remove the blocks from our past so that we can move forward into the future. We can maximize and celebrate ourselves today by being free of the weights of what was. It's gone, it's over. If there's things we need to apologize for, okay, we do. And then we move on and we learn to celebrate ourselves right now while it's called today. So we can maximize today to be the best us possible and to live in a state of celebration as we celebrate ourselves today. Let's talk to our next guest. Join me in welcoming Sue Wilhite. Hey Sue, how you doing today?
I am doing awesome, Steve. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Glad to have you here with us. Tell us a little bit about who you are and how you show up in the world.
Well, I help successful women who've run into roadblocks in their career, in their life, get off of those with a 90-day clearing and coaching program. And I've got to say, it's one of the things that has given me the most satisfaction of anything I've ever done in my life. And I've done a lot.
So how does it work? How does a person get clear? Does it take the whole 90 days or does it take most of it for them to get in a place where they can then do it? Or how does it work?
Well, the 90 days is pretty much the minimum for the transformations that I'm helping them with to really take hold, to set, and to show up in the world. They meet with me twice a week, every week, for the full 3 months. And one session is doing the clearing work, and one session is the what do you want? Let's move forward, the coaching sorts of things, where they're taking action. And what's really fun is the beginning is really slow as they're kind of getting into it, but then it becomes like this whole logarithmic curve where it's just like, whoom, they go completely vertical. And they get out of their own way and they achieve things that they never believed. Their goals actually shift. I do a major thing every month at the beginning of each month of, okay, now what do you want? Now what do you see as possible for you? Now what are we doing? And they shift in the middle and become clearer and more able to act on that clarity. That's the thing that's why I call it the call to action coaching program, because it's all about moving people forward and getting them into action on what it is that they want.
So, clear can have a lot of different meanings for people. When you talk about helping somebody get clear, what do you mean by that?
Well, there's two pieces to it. One is there is a lot of research that shows that human beings, and actually most living things on the planet, are actually electric batteries. We're totally electromagnetic beings, and we have this electric flow that goes through our body. And for human beings, that flow is generated by our brain, our heart, and our gut, and can be detected with lots of different instruments. There's pictures of it all over the web. You can see these wonderful matrices of electromagnetic energy surrounding the body that goes anywhere from 2 to 4 feet out. One of the things that I help people with at the very beginning is I help them get their batteries reseated, as it were. It's probably dating me, but transistor radios. If you dropped a transistor radio or you dropped some toys, the battery would become unseated. And even though technically the object or the electronics would work, if the battery was unseated, it couldn't get power. And the same thing happens to us. If our battery gets unseated, then we don't have enough mojo to move forward. And it really is a feedback system where if we don't have enough energy, we actually don't create enough energy. You've probably seen that downward spiral in folks who, well, I don't feel like getting off the couch to exercise, so I'm not going to exercise, which makes you feel less like exercising. Once we get the batteries in place, then I use a particular sound healing technique called biofield tuning. And biofield tuning takes the electromagnetic energy of our thoughts and emotions that live in that field, that electromagnetic field around our body, and untangles them and resets them so that that energy is more available and it's not blocking thoughts and mojo, what I just call mojo. It's that motive energy that gets people going.
So what would you say is the biggest thing that when a person starts off, they're struggling with? And then follow that up with, once they get into the process, where do they find out where the trouble really is?
Yeah. So a lot of people come to me because they say, something's not working. I can't get such and such to work. So many times it's their career, it's their job, it's their business. They're stuck in not being able to achieve what they want to achieve. In other words, they're doing all the things that are the mechanical things that they need to do. They're building lists, or they're interviewing, or they're doing whatever thing that they're supposed to do, that they've heard they're supposed to do, and it's not having results. And it's partly not having results because their energy, their flow is not congruent with what it is that they say that they want. So part of my initial process is getting them really clear on what it is that they want and clearing stuff out of the way that, so for instance, some of the things that get out of the way are old childhood patterns. Maybe it was inherited, whether directly through DNA or through family culture. One of my clients was really being unsuccessful in starting a business, and he was from India, where they allegedly abolished the caste system over 100 years ago, but it's still very ingrained. There's thousands of years of that in the culture. And his last name and his family came from a caste that was part of the priesthood. And priests didn't do business. They don't do business. They're not merchants. And nobody would do business with him. And he couldn't get his business started because there was a part of him that believed at a deep level that he wasn't supposed to be in business, whether he consciously believed that or not. And through biofield tuning and doing the clearing, he unleashed the actual, yes, I can do this business mojo that he had, and was able to get his business off the ground and running and being able to see the opportunities that were in front of him. So that's one. For some people, they never quite realize what it was that was in their way consciously, but all of a sudden opportunities show up. People show up in their lives that give them, or clients or our mentors, or just drop a little wisdom in their lap that, oh, that's the light bulb I've been waiting for, and they can do what it is that they need to do. It's really quite fun.
So give us a little taste of it. I mean, obviously they need to work deeper with you to do 90 days. We can't do 90 days in 9 minutes, but give us just a little taste. Where would we start the
Right.
process?
Yeah. So I can give you a little bit of the process of reseating the battery because I do this as a lecture pretty frequently. And you can do this at home. You can do this anywhere, anytime. It's one of those things where the first time you do it, it will take a fairly long time to work through how it works. But then if you ever notice your battery is unseated, the more you do it, if you do it on a daily basis, it just becomes instant. It's like click, click, okay, I'm there. It's just like putting a battery in, right? It doesn't take any time. So the process is we have two poles in electricity. You have a negative pole and a positive pole. And we have a negative pole that is the connection to the electromagnetic field of the Earth, of the planet. The planet has an electromagnetic field. It actually is measured. I think it's something like 7.63 hertz. And when we're under stress or trauma, we tend to disconnect from that. And frankly, I think that pretty much everybody on the planet right now has PTSD. So a lot of us have disconnected from that particular source. So you imagine that there's this little ball of energy that's going to go down from, say, your knees, between your knees, down through your ankles, down below the bottoms of your feet, about 6 inches. And imagine that clicking into the electromagnetic field of the planet. And just imagine that little ball of energy becoming seated into that energy source. And once you've got that, imagine that there is another little ball of energy that's at the top of your head. That's the positive pole. And it wants to plug into the electromagnetic energy of the rest of the universe. It's a pretty big pole. That's pretty good stuff. So imagine that this particular ball of energy, which really gets hung up by our thoughts, it's close to our head. And so our thoughts, any repetitive thoughts that we have, any negative, what I'll call non-useful thoughts that we have, any worry, which is what I have heard called a prayer for what you do not want. All of that sort of tends to make that little ball of energy come closer to our head and stick there, where it really needs to be about 6 to 8 inches above our heads and plugged into the energy of the rest of the universe. There is background energy there. It's been measured, and we are supposed to be plugged into it. So imagine that this little ball of energy kind of up the top of the head, unsticks, and floats up and connects up to that universal energy. Now, if that's a little tough for you to visualize, imagine that it is connecting to the electromagnetic energy of the sun. That's a nice way of at least getting part way there. And now once those two poles, the negative pole that's connected to the earth and the positive pole that's connected to the sun or the rest of the universe, imagine that there's this current that's just running up and down between them, and allow that current to power and generate energy throughout your entire body. And take a deep breath and just feel it going through, and allow your mind to clear and allow your body to just kind of notice how it feels to have that energy running through you.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, it's fun, huh?
Yeah. So
I was going to say, do that daily. I do it every night.
sounds good. So if somebody wants to do the whole 90 days with you, how would they get in contact with you?
Well, first, I'd like to have a conversation with them. If they would like to get a hold of me, I have a digital business card, which is really easy to remember. It's my first name, Sue, S-U-E, the digit 2, and the word go. So it's suetogo.com. And on my digital business card, there's a button that says, have an enlightenment session. And click on that and schedule an enlightenment session with me. And we'll have a 45-minute conversation and find out where you are, what you need. I promise that I'm not going to sell you the program. I just want to know where you are. And maybe there's a few simple things that I can share with you that would allow you to move forward and see how that is with working with me. And then we'll see whether we have another 90 days with each other.
That sounds great. So Sue, give us just a kind of closing words of encouragement.
Yeah, my favorite thing to say to people and to really wake you up out of whatever stuckness you're in. No one will value you as much as you do. I'll say it again. No one will value you as much as you do. So you need to put a value on yourself in order to have the rest of the world see you as valuable. And the more value you see in yourself, the rest of the world will open up for you.
Thank you so much for those words of encouragement. Sue, thanks so much for being with us on the show here today.
Well, thank you, Steve. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for letting me spread the word.
Absolutely. What are the things that you can celebrate about you today? What are the blocks that you can finally let go of so that you can enjoy today? You can celebrate you today. You can maximize and be the best you that you are right here, right now, where you are today. You'll be better tomorrow. But what can we do today so that we can all come together and celebrate you? So that you can live today as a thriving entrepreneur. I want that for you so much. I hope you'll stick around with us and listen to our next guest here after this commercial break, here on Thriving Entrepreneur.
If you're an author who's on a mission, stand out with your brand out. Check this out, guys. Yep, everything's marketing, and marketing is everything. Your existing book can become a best-selling book, or even, hey, like mine, a #1 international best-selling book in 5 days. Listen, if your business isn't known by everybody, it's obscurity, and that's death, right? The same thing is true for your book. If you're not happy with the way your book is performing, you got that far and then it just fell off the face of the planet kind of feeling, go to yourbestsellertoday.com. Schedule a talk with Steve. It's risk-free, it's guaranteed, it's proven. We've done it thousands of times. What are you waiting for? Yes, yourbestsellertoday.com. This time next week, you could have a beautiful seal on your book and get the attention that you deserve. Reach the people that you came to serve. Come on now. What are you waiting for? Grab a pen. Here we go. All you got to do is book a call, yourbestsellertoday.com. Go to yourbestsellertoday.com. Book a talk with Steve. It's proven, it's guaranteed, it's gonna happen. All you have to do is say yes to your destiny.
Welcome back to Thriving Entrepreneur.
This is Steve. Welcome back. Thanks for listening to Thriving Entrepreneur today as we work on celebrating you. As we celebrate ourselves, we take all that was and we let it go. That's what we talked about in the last segment. We learn truly the art of breaking free, of self mastery, of knowing how incredibly wonderful you are, and then living in that place. As we live as a thriving entrepreneur, I've got one more great guest here for you. Let's jump right into this interview. Join me in welcoming Sopheia McMorris. Hey, Sopheia, how you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about you and how you show up in the world.
Well, if you mean like my story and how I got started with my business, yes. For years I struggled with my weight, and so I felt like the swan in the ugly duckling story. I was desperate to master my life, and so I kept going around the mountain. And what going around the mountain looked like for me was just that I consistently would do the same thing over and over again. I would, like 3 months out of the year, I would start a weight loss journey or some form of thing, detox cleanse or something like that. And then by the end of the year, I would have gained back all the weight. I'd lose 50 pounds and then I'd gain it all back and then some. So I decided to do something different. And so when I started doing something different, I signed up for weight loss surgery and waited 6 months for a surgery date, and I didn't get one. And then I was feeling disheartened and all of those feelings that come overwhelmed again. And I sat down one day to meditate. And that's when I experienced my breakthrough light bulb moment. I read a quote that said, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou would prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prosper." And for the first time, the word soul spoke to me. And I wondered, what's my soul prosperity? What's my soul, and how can I discover my soul, and how can it help me to lose weight? From there, I went on a self-discovery journey, and I found my soul's prosperity wrapped in self-mastery. So that's why I teach and train people in the art of self-mastery today. I was able to, once I discovered my soul's prosperity, I was able to lose 100 pounds, and the rest was history. So I felt so excited about that I then decided I needed to tell people about this internal shift that can happen for you, that will help you to be successful in all areas of your life.
I love that. So give us just a sneak peek. I mean, they're going to need to work with you in order to get it all, but give us a little sneak peek of what is that internal shift?
Well, one of the first internal shifts that I know I needed to do was the self-discovery. And self-discovery gives you that self-knowledge. So that way you can really start becoming aware. And then that's the next thing. Because sometimes as we become aware, we can get stuck in that awareness. Like, I've messed up so many times. I've made so many mistakes. I've failed so many times, and you can get stuck there. But I usually tell people, like, just go ahead, accept yourself where you are, forgive yourself, let it go, and move forward. And I think that's the key to, getting past that hurdle or getting over that hurdle there. The next thing is to recognize that you have a choice. You have a choice either to stay stuck, or you have a choice to move forward. You have a choice to stay in your present situation, living on the autopilot and keep going around the mountain, or you have that choice to, move forward and take the next step that could possibly move you into the place that you want to be. Yeah.
So often we have something we want to change, but we don't. Yes. What would you say are the big things that keep us from really making changes in our life?
I think, I think for me, I think it's a commitment to yourself. So one of the things that I do is that I ask my client to commit to themselves, not commit to me or to their neighbor or to their spouse or somebody else, but really commit to themselves, that they're willing to do what it takes to live to their highest potential. And I think that is so important, that commitment, because when you're not committed and you just want something, which is, one of the things that I experienced. So 95% of our lives are lived in the subconscious mind, and only 5% are lived consciously. And the part that I focus on is how to get the 95% of you to be in support of the 5% of what you want. And that 5% is normally that want, like, I want the new house, I want the new car, I want, to live differently. But if you're not committed to it, if you're not committed to actually doing what it takes to get you to that other side, that's why I think people tend to go back, as well as the autopilot won't let you. As long as you stay in there and stay stuck on the same thing, it will always bring you back, which is what I experienced on my weight loss journey, is that it always brought me back to where I gained back all the weight and then some, until I changed some internal things that was going to move me, help me and keep me moving forward.
So how long has it been now that you've had the weight off? So proud of you.
I would say I started my business in 2013, so it's been a while.
Good for you. I mean, because so many of us have yo-yoed and even done really well for a while. And then, so it's really always cool to hear from somebody that, took it off and then kept it off.
Yes.
So for the person who needs your help more than we can give in 10 or 15 minutes on a podcast, how would a person, who do you like to work with, and how would they go about working with you?
Okay. Well, I like to work with professionals and entrepreneurs who, one, are committed to themselves, to living to their highest potential, and who may find themselves being people pleasers, or being passengers in their own lives, sitting there stuck in the back seat, and they really want to take that front seat. They want to move into that space of really being able to live life on their own terms and drive their own destiny, as well as people who find themselves maybe overachievers who want to be who they want to be. And that's been hard for them to really grasp, and just get present and practice that mindfulness to, being the person that they want to be. And the next question was, how do they get in touch with me? They can get in touch with me on my website, SophiaSpeaksWisdom.com, or they can, I don't have a link. I was going to say they have a link. They can click the link. But yeah, that's most of the place where you can get in touch with me. All my information is there, contact information and so forth and so on.
And it's SophiaSpeaks.com, but
yeah, SophiaSpeaksWisdom.com, and Sophia is spelled Sophia. So I usually make a joke and say I'm Sophia with an E. So
perfect. Sophia.
Yeah, so
Speaks
Sophia with
wisdom.
Yeah.
All right. We just want to make sure that when people, search it, they get you.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. So, are there any parting words that you have that you give to us to help us out?
One of my favorite parting word is to not to try to solve inward problem with an outward solution. And that was what I tried to do for years. I just wanted to get the weight off and keep it off, instead of really being willing to do the internal work that needs to be done in order for me to get my mindset in a proper position, so that way I could actually be successful.
I love that. Well, Sophia, you're an amazing person, and I really appreciate you spending some time here on the show with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
What can you do to celebrate you today? What are the things that you need to be your own publicist about, to share with the world that you do well. Sometimes we need that external validation. We need somebody else to say to us, oh wow, that's amazing that you did that. But if we don't share it with people, if nobody knows what you just did, then how can they celebrate you? And then often there are elements of our past, there are those things that we can't or won't let go of, that we need to remove from our lives, that we need to let go, so that the things that have been blocking us from being the best version of ourselves can be a thing of the past, and we can move boldly into the future with a clear understanding of how awesome we are. That way, then, we have the capability to take on the challenge of mastering ourselves, of being a real expert at us, meaning being an expert at what we're good at. So many of us are so good at being an expert at all the things that we're not good at, making sure that we tell ourselves and everybody else in the world all the ways and the times and the places that we've missed it, that we've blown it, that we're just not good enough. But what if we spent that same energy on celebrating the things that we do powerfully, that we do well, the times that we show up for our friends, our family, and yes, even for ourselves? What if we celebrated that? What if we embraced true humility and we had the ability to be able to say, you know, I'm really good at this thing. I really enjoy it. I really like it. It makes me feel a sense of pride when I do whatever that thing is for you. Fill in the blank for that thing that makes you have a smile on your face because you can do it. You can do it well. And you can have an overall sense of accomplishment from being good at that stuff that you're good at. And then you can celebrate you. You can celebrate you internally so that you can then externally share the amazing you that you are with the world, so that you can make the difference that only you can make, because you are uniquely brilliant. You were created for a purpose, and the world does need you. I hope you know that. I hope you can celebrate the you that is you, that you can maximize while it's called today. Never doubt the purpose and the plan for your life, but rather to celebrate you, to be the best you, to be the person that you've always been, that maybe you've just held yourself off from being, so that you can take the world by storm. You can live a life that allows you to be a thriving entrepreneur. And you can look in the mirror at the end of the night when you're getting ready for bed, and you can say to yourself, it was a good day. I did a good job being me today. You can celebrate you one last time as your head hits the pillow, and you can go to sleep happy, safe, warm, and loved. I hope you can take that with you, that you will celebrate you while it's called today. And that until we're together again next time, that you will have a great week.
Thanks for listening to Thriving Entrepreneur today. If you want to get your question answered, send an email to questions@wehelpyouthrive.com. We look forward to you joining us again next time.
If you're an author who's on a mission, stand out with your brand out. Check this out, guys. Yep, everything's marketing, and marketing is everything. Your existing book can become a best-selling book, or even, hey, like mine, a #1 international best-selling book in 5 days. Listen, if your business isn't known by everybody, it's obscurity, and that's death, right? The same thing is true for your book. If you're not happy with the way your book is performing, you got that far and then it just fell off the face of the planet kind of feeling, go to yourbestsellertoday.com, schedule a talk with Steve, Steve. It's risk-free, it's guaranteed, it's proven. We've done it thousands of times. What are you waiting for? Yes, yourbestsellertoday.com. This time next week, you could have a beautiful seal on your book and get the attention that you deserve. Reach the people that you came to serve. Come on now. What are you waiting for? Grab a pen. Here we go. All you got to do is book a call. Yourbestsellertoday.com. Go to yourbestsellertoday.com. Book a talk with Steve. It's proven. It's guaranteed. It's going to happen. All you have to do is say yes to your destiny.